Hi, thanks for stopping by. I'm so happy you're here. Today we're going to make dairy-free onion dip. Oh, onion dip. I love onion dip. Well, I love anything that has mayonnaise in it. And this recipe has mayonnaise. So to make it dairy-free, we had to do something about the sour cream because most onion dips have sour cream and maybe a little bit of mayonnaise, and then they may also have cream cheese. And both of those things, sour cream and cream cheese, are pretty much off the table when you're dairy-free. So my onion dip combines a dairy-free sour cream and mayonnaise, the most wonderful ingredient in the world, together with a whole bunch of other ingredients. This is not your, I don't know, grandma's onion dip or the onion dip from the Lipton soup mix, which I used to love before I learned to make it myself. It has lots of depth of flavor. We've got balsamic in here, we've got thyme, and there's Worcestershire and mustard and so many more things. And so I'm going to show you how to make it. So let's jump in and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is slice all our onions. So I've got yellow onions, white onions, and I also have a shallot here to throw in just for the mix. I like adding that. It adds a little bit different flavor. I never really know how many onions I need till I actually see them in the pan, so I've got some extra. This is my smaller extra yellow onion, so I'm going to keep him back there. I may use them, I may not. So what I've done is I've cut the onions in half, I've peeled them, so now I'm going to take off the root edge here, and I'm going to cut around. You don't want your slices to be too thin and you don't want them to be too thick. You're looking for that nice happy medium, because if they're too thin, then they're going to cook too fast and they may possibly burn or brown too much. So I'm just slicing. I'm going with the shape of the onion and just slicing around. And then when you get over here, you can turn it around if it's not feeling like a good position. I get a little wonky when I get too close to the fingers, but I think I'm going to be okay. And don't worry how perfect or not perfect this is, because we're going to be chopping this up before we actually put it in the dip as one of the final steps. Okay, so I'm going to go through and do the rest of my onions here. Make sure you have a nice sharp knife. A chef's knife is probably the best knife to use for this. Whoops, okay. And again, no worry about how wonderful and even your chopping is, or slicing, sorry, because these are going to get chopped. Now this is a big onion. This is the white onion, I believe. When you're slicing, you always want to have the claw. You never want to do this. If you do this, you're gonna probably lose a fingertip. Your claw is how you hold it, and you just move the knife through the food. You don't have to use a lot of force, you let the knife do the work. Now I like to use a shallot, like I said, to add a little bit a different flavor, and so I've peeled and cut both ends off of this shallot. So I'm just going to slice it like this. The little ringlets, throw that in the pan. Okay, so our onions and shallot are all cut. Okay, so I'm using an induction burner, so I'm all in one place here, but you're going to want to get on your stove and you're going to want to set it to medium, because this is kind of a low and slow method. This is not a quick cook. It's going to take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how hot your pan is and how many onions you have. So you're going to want to go slow. You're going to have to watch them. And I will show you all this because you're going to be here along as I do this whole process. So I am starting with a tablespoon of Earth Balance. If you are dairy full and not dairy free, you can use butter. But since this is a dairy free video, you probably are not dairy full. And then I'm going to squirt in, this is some sunflower oil, just get a little bit more oil in here. And then once this butter melts down, I'm going to get, okay, so I got a nice sizzle here. So that means I've got my pan wonderfully hot. I like to use a cast iron skillet, but any skillet will do. I don't necessarily say you can't use a Teflon or a nonstick, that would work fine. But I kind of like to, there's something about the cast iron that I only caramelize onions in a cast iron. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good right now. I'm going to put my little protector here on my handle because I have learned the hard way about grabbing a hot cast iron pan. So I am all protected now. Okay, so now I am going to add. Okay, we have some sizzle here, so I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. The first time you put them in, it's okay if your pan's up a little higher because you want to get them started. Okay, I do have enough onions. That other onions is going to have to go in the fridge for use later on. Not coming to the party today. Okay, so I've got the onions. I'm breaking them up with my hands. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to add the thyme. So you're going to take some sprigs of thyme and just set them in here. They're here to add flavor. We're going to take them out at the end. They're not going to get incorporated into the onion dip. And now I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some pepper. Okay, we're good there. And I'm going to move them around a little, get them cooking down. They're going to cook down in about 5-7 minutes, and they're going to look like a lot less onions. By the time they're done caramelizing, you're going to be like, whoa, didn't I put a lot more onions in here? But that's perfectly normal. Okay, and at this point, you might feel you want to add a little bit more oil, but I think I'm pretty good right here. Everything looks coated nicely. Okay. So at this stage, you don't have to watch them intently, but I wouldn't, leave the kitchen either, because you want to keep an eye on them. But if you have something else to cook, if you're making a meal and this is the first thing you're making, you could probably start that. Just keep a really good eye on it. So because this is a really long process, we're gonna come back when the onions have progressed to the next step. Okay, so we've been about 5 minutes cooking our onions, and if you can see here, the water is starting to leach out, and that's what's going to happen through this first phase of the caramelization process. And that's a good thing because that's going to keep your onions moist. I'm also starting to see a little color change here, which is exactly what I want. We are going for a very, very caramelized onion, not a light blonde. We're going for a very golden brown. So as we get to that stage and later on, we're going to have to add some water to the pan, otherwise we're going to start burning our onions, which we do not want to do because a burnt onion dip is just not appetizing at all. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit a little bit longer. I don't think I'm going to just be patient and not move it. That's one of the hardest things, is just want to get in there and move things around. I'm just going to let them cook for about 5 more minutes, and I'm going to go back in, check them, see if they need any water, and check their progress, and we'll look together. Okay, so once your water is absorbed or evaporated, you can keep adding more water as the process goes along. You don't want to add too much at a time because you don't want to then steam the onions. And if you had added the water too early in the process, that would have been the result. You would have ended up steaming your onions and not caramelizing them like this. So be liberal, but contained with your water. And you may have to repeat this process 2 or 3 times. See, we're getting some good color on them. And we're at the stage now where most of the water through the cooking has leached out of the onions. As you can see the pan here, it's looking pretty dry. So if we don't put some water in here and we keep cooking at this heat, we're probably going to have some burned onions, which, like I said, does not make for a good onion dip. So what I'm going to do, I always have a little cup of water handy. So I'm going to put some water in, mixing it up, and then as this cooks, the water is going to evaporate, but it's going to allow for the onions to keep cooking to get to that golden caramelization without burning them. So I'm going to turn it up just a smidgen. I went up about 30 degrees, which is more precise here on the induction burner than would be on your stove. And so that's going to burn off or cook off some of that moisture and allow the onions to cook some more. We are close. We're probably about 15 minutes away from full caramelization. Okay, we are in the home stretch. We've got this beautiful golden color on our onions. I'm so excited, and it smells so amazing. And I've added water throughout this process. I'm not adding water now because we're so close, but I do need to stir a lot so that we don't burn. Again, that's been the thing we've been avoiding this whole time. And I'm going to let it go just a little bit longer. I think at this point I'm going to pull out my thyme because as you can see, it's done its job. I think I got one more piece in there somewhere. There, oh, out of the pan. Okay, the thyme is out. And so at this stage, you're going to want to keep turning and mixing so that we, again, don't burn and we get this great color. And it's going to be a judgment call. How caramelized do you want them? Now I've got some amazing color over here on this side of the pan. I've got a few over here that I would like to be a little more caramelized, but we are so close. I am, boom, calling it done. Okay, we have our caramelized onions. So now I'm going to transfer them to the stainless steel bowl. And these have got to chill down so that we can chop them and then get them into the dip. So I put them in a stainless steel bowl because that is going to lose the heat faster than any other type of bowl, a glass bowl or even a plastic bowl. Okay, I want everybody out of the pan here. Come on, you cannot stay. You'll miss all the fun in the dip if you stay. Woo, one more. Okay. So here we are. I'm going to take this and put it into the freezer. And then while it's in the freezer, we're going to make the delicious sauce. Okay, so the onions are in the freezer cooling down. And so now we're going to make the sauce or the dip part of it. I've got my mayonnaise and the sour cream. And what I'm using is Tofutti dairy-free sour cream. In itself, it doesn't have much flavor, but it's a soy-based product. So just like tofu and other dairy-free soy-based products, whatever flavors you add to it, it's going to absorb. So I use the sour cream more for texture. It's got a great texture. I really love it. It's thicker than mayonnaise. It's a little stiffer, so it's gonna add creaminess as well as some weight to the dip, and it's going to absorb all the wonderful flavors we're putting in there. So I've got the mayonnaise and the sour cream, and I'm just kind of mixing it together here. We're gonna get that all mixed. And now I'm going to add the ingredients one by one. So I've got some onion powder and garlic powder. And get that mixed in. And then I've got Worcestershire sauce. I've got a little bit of Dijon mustard here. That was not a good, clean execution there, but it's in. And then I've got the balsamic vinegar. And we're going to mix this up. Now the key here, this recipe is kind of like a guideline, kind of like, speed limit signs. We suggest that you drive 55, but you just take it into your own hands to do what you want. A recipe is kind of similar. I'm giving you a baseline, but you're going to have different tastes and likes than I do. So maybe you want a little bit more balsamic, put more in. Maybe you don't want Dijon and you want yellow mustard or you want stone ground or something. Put that in. So the key here is you're going to taste as you go, and you're going to determine, do you need more or do you need less? And so we're going to do that, and I'm going to determine I may want some more Worcestershire or I may want some more vinegar. But the first thing we're going to do is this, my secret ingredient to every sauce I make. Don't be scared. Yes, it does say fish sauce, and it smells like fish sauce, and it tastes like fish sauce. But it gives that little bit of umami to everything I use it in, but you have to use just like very, very little. And so I always do this. I would actually do it on a spoon. Don't be, unless you want to be brave here. And it's going to be just a smidgen. That's all we need. That's it. Time for a taste. Now, it's not going to taste the same. Obviously, the onions aren't in yet, but oh, that's pretty good. But you know what? I want some more balsamic. So I am just going to put some in here, mix it up, and taste it again. I like mine to have a very, very strong balsamic flavor to it. You may not like that, so you might not. You might be putting more Worcestershire in, or I'm not going to double dip because other people are going to eat this, so I'm getting another spoon. Right, Rich? No double dipping.
Right.
Oh, that's really good. It's got a nice tang to it, nice bite. It's going to be perfect with the onions because remember, the onions are going to bring, hair in the face. Onions are going to bring a lot of sweet to the party here. And so you're going to need this tanginess, this base to balance all that out. And so once we get the onions in here, I think this is going to be exactly where I want it, but I am going to reserve the possibility of adding more stuff. And right now I'm going to add a little pepper because I realized I did not do that. Okay, I think it's been about 15 minutes. I am going to run and go get the onions, and we're going to chop them up and mix it all together and eat some dip. Okay, so now it's time to chop the onions. They've cooled nicely in the freezer, so I am removing them from the bowl. Put that over here. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to chop them up. I don't want them terribly small, but I don't want them as big as they are now. So I'm going to go through here a few times, chop it up. If you want bigger onions, then don't chop as much. If you want smaller onions, then chop more. It's your decision. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's just what you like. Okay. And once I'm done chopping these, I'm going to get them back in the same bowl. I like mine fairly medium. This is going to give me medium, not a precise measurement at all. Okay, feeling good about this. Thank you for my bowl. Back in the bowl. I'm going to slowly add some of the sauce here and mix. So you may add all the sauce, you may add partial amount of the sauce. Depends on how thick you want your onion dip to be. Do you want maximum amount of onion in every bite, or do you want a little bit less onion in every bite? So I'm kind of liking the way this looks, but I'm going to add some more. Just so, and it'll extend your dip too if you use all the sauce. So again, personal preference, you are in control of the final result. And again, everybody is different. And my family's going to like what I make because that's just going to be the way it is because I made it. And, you know, this is how I like it. Right, guys? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I did end up using just about all the sauce. Okay, I'm mixing it together. So this is a very important note or step here. Before you decide how much seasoning you do or do not have to put in this now, you need to taste it with the chip, because the chip is going to bring a lot of salt to the party. So you don't want to salt this and get it exactly where you want, and then you put a chip in it and it's like, oh my God, it's too salty. So I am going to test it. It's just the taste test part is just the hardest part of this recipe. Oh, okay, that is wonderful. I like the salt. I think I like the salt level. I've got to try again. But the balsamic level is exactly where I want it. Has a good depth of flavor. Oh, I don't think I'm going to add any salt. I think I'm going to add just a smidgen of pepper. But salt-wise, I think I'm good. Others may disagree, but I think I'm right there. I'm going to mix this up, try it again. Okay, one more chip. And notice I did not double dip. I was very careful about that. Oh, it's so good. Dairy-free onion dip. Amazing. Mayonnaise, dairy-free sour cream, a bunch of other delicious ingredients. Don't forget the fish sauce, the most important ingredient, but only use a little. I hope that you make this, you enjoy this, you love this, your family will love this. I know my family, and none of them are dairy-free, but me, love this. Right, Rich?
Exactly.
It's the greatest thing. They look forward to it. Now, I will say this is not a low-calorie or healthy dish at all. That's why I only have it about 3 times a year. I usually make it for holidays. It's very addictive for me because I do love chips too. So I'm very sparing with it. I'm going to enjoy, but I probably won't have it again for 6 months. So that's how I reason it all out, and it's all going to be fine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, the full recipe the link to the recipe is in the description below. If you like us, please subscribe, visit our website, do all you can to support us. We will be eternally grateful. Until the next video, happy eating.